Hi, welcome to our church window workshop. In this workshop, we are going to show you some techniques on how to get a crackling effect. We are using our milk paint, which is a new product here in our store. It's a powdered paint, which we need to mix. And I'm just going to get right into it. So your first layer is going to be the Gotham Gray, which will be a container that'll look like this. And we have already measured it out for you. So there's 2 tablespoons of Gotham Gray in there. And we want to add 2 tablespoons of water. And you always want to add the water first and then your powder. So I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of water into my cup. 1, 2, and I've got 2 tablespoons of the milk paint. So you just dump it in there. You will need a fork or some sort of stick to mix your milk paint. Your milk paint should be like a cream consistency, and you're going to want to mix it fairly well. Carol, if you can come here, you'll see in there, you can see the white, those are pigments that are in there, so you want to make sure that those pigments get nice and mixed. So it'll take about a minute or so to mix it. You can use sort of a room temperature to a little bit warm temperature water. That'll help dissolve the pigments. And one thing about milk paint, it is very forgiving. You'll get virtually no brush marks from it. It is awesome to go on raw wood, is what we are using right here, which is raw wood. It becomes one with the wood. So it'll actually penetrate right into the wood. So I'm just going to, there's still a little bit of white. I can still see a little bit of white in there. So I'm just going to give it a little mix more. And I'm going to take my brush. Virtually you can use any kind of brush for milk paint. It doesn't have to be an expensive brush. It could be a cheap brush. So you see we got sort of like cream consistency. It might look a little chunky, which that is normal for milk paint. So I'm just going to start brushing, and you can go in any direction. And Carol, if you can come here and you can have a look, you might see kind of chunks in there. That is actually quite normal. You'll just want to kind of brush them out.
Can't really see it.
You can't really see in the video, but you...
Just wait, if I get in maybe a little bit of different light.
But it is quite normal. And you just kind of brush them in and brush them out.
And when it dries, sometimes you get little white marks, almost like little white bumps.
Yeah.
But once you add your wax or hemp oil, they just disappear.
Yeah. And as you're painting, you also still want to kind of give it a little bit of a stir because it will settle.
So you kind of mix it up with your brush as you're doing it, right?
Right, exactly. And you're wanting to get inside your window there too, in the frame. I'm just going to pick my window up a little bit. There we go. And you're just kind of pushing it in there.
So I don't think I'm going to videotape Sandy doing the whole window, because I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's just important to keep going to the bottom of your cup and kind of stirring it with your brush as you go, just so that you are mixing up those pigments at the bottom.
It does dry very quickly. In a half an hour, the milk paint is actually dried and cured. So it doesn't, once it's dry, it's dried and cured. Where normal, like the Fusion paint actually takes 21 days for a paint to cure, but not the milk paint. Once it's dry, it's cured.
So you'll paint the top and the sides. We're not painting the back, however.
No.
So just the top and the
top and
little
the
grooves in there.
And we
And be-
are only doing one coat of the Gotham Gray because we want it to be a stressed look, so there's no need to put on 2 coats. But the coverage is pretty awesome on this color, as you can see.
Okay, so we'll be back when we go to put on our second color. Hi, welcome back. So now we're ready to do our top coat with the milk paint. So when you finished your first coat, you're going to want to wash out your brush and your fork. If you don't wash the fork right away, it's going to get really hard on there and it's harder to get off. With the brush, when you come to do the second coat, if it's still damp, that doesn't matter because you're mixing it in with the water anyway. So we're going to do like we did before. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of the warm water first. I was going to say warm milk. And then you're going to add the Hotel Robe. Now, with the Gotham Gray, there was 2 tablespoons of the powder. With the Hotel Robe, there's 3. And the reason we're doing that is we want it to have more clumps. We want it to be clumpier. So we're going to do like before, and we're going to stir it up for like a minute. And it's going to be a lot thicker than what your Gotham Gray was, just because we have that much more powder in it. The thicker the paint is, the more crackling you're going to get. So if you want that really old look, you want it to be a thicker paint. And if you touch your window, it feels quite rough. That's just the pigment, and that's normal for milk paint. We're not going to worry about it because we're doing a distressed look, so we don't need to sand it. Sandy, if they were just doing one color, would you sand in between coats?
Yeah, I would sand in between coats, and because you want a really, really smooth. If you're doing a piece of furniture and you wanted a nice smooth finish, you would sand in between coats, and you would sand your final coat. And it is very, very smooth once it is sanded.
Okay, so I've stirred it up, and again, you're going to want to take your brush to the very bottom every once in a while and stir up those pigments. So this layer, you don't have to be super fussy about getting it even because you actually don't want it even. You want it to have a distressed look. So what you're going to do is you're going to brush it on, and I'm actually going to leave some of the gray showing through because I want it to look like it's an old window. But in some areas, and this is where if you take it off the edge and the bottom, you get that much thicker. I'm going to put it thicker in some areas because there, once we apply the heat with the blow dryer, it is going to crackle. So, you know, I want to think about where I want my crackling to be. Again, you're not going to have it even, but I want to put it certain areas. So if I wanted like on here where these 4 join, and I want to keep some gray showing through because I want to have that aged look.
And I guess if you have drips, it's not really a big issue on this coat.
No.
Because that's kind of where that is nice and thick. That's where it's going to show lots of the crackle.
And you can do along your edges, but I wouldn't worry so much about the crackling on the edge. All I did was, you know, go over it lightly so I have some of my gray looking through so it's a distressed look. I'm going to do those sides first, I think. I can't really see here, so you'll have to tell me how it looks.
Yeah,
Sandy.
you're getting good. You probably won't see that side anyway
No,
when
you're
you
not
hang
going to
it
see the
up.
bottom. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want it, so I have it quite thick there. I'm going to end up having more crackle there, more cracking.
That's the nice thing about the milk paint. It is really unpredictable, which makes it look like it's more of a natural.
And that's why it's really nice to have it on your fair wood because you get that aged look so easily.
Mm-hmm. And because we're using because we made the milk paint thick, you might see brush marks, but that's kind of makes it an aged look. Like that's the look we're going for. So it'll be fine. You don't want a nice smooth, and here too you're gonna have lumps, but that's really what we want.
So I'm really digging at the bottom there to get my nice pigment for my crackling.
And you kind of want to work fast at doing this because we are going to put a blow. We don't want it to dry quick because we want to use the blow dryer to get the crackling effect.
Okay. Just gonna...
There might be there's in the second window there to the top here.
I'm gonna bristle.
From the brush.
Where's, oh, right here. I haven't done it.
Yeah, and then this next one too.
This one?
Nope.
This one?
Nope.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
Good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So I'm just gonna
She's just adding extra paint on top so we can get thicker
crackle
paint. Yeah.
effect. Okay. So I'm done. Like Sandy said, you want to kind of work fast. So now we're gonna apply the heat and you're gonna see what that crackling effect is. So you want it on your heat, you don't want it on the cold. So it's kind of a little bit of a slow process because you can't just put your heat over it like this and it's going to activate it. You want to hold it in an area where you have a lot of the pigment. And then that's going to, so like right here, you can see how much crackle there is. And it's the heat that activates that crackle. So you can see right here what it's like now, and then I'm going to apply the heat. And now you can see the crackle in there. And once we apply the wax, it'll really make it stand out. So I think we can just let it go and then we'll come back later and we'll show you how you can sand and apply the wax. So we have blow dried our window. So what we suggest is you blow dry it, leave it about 10 minutes just so it can, you know, set a little bit. And now if you want, we have included sandpaper with your kit. If you want to add even more distressing, so let's say, you know, in my corners here, that's probably a natural place. I'm just going to sand. Sorry. Our church window's falling over here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to distress it a little bit. I personally, I don't want to do it even. I want to, you know, I don't want to go all the way around. I just want to do it here and there. So it looks a little more natural.
Yeah, you can see how hard this milk paint becomes once it becomes one with the wood. When it's raw wood, it's really actually quite hard to sand off. So we are using like a 120 grit sandpaper.
Okay, so I'm just going to concentrate on this top half
Yep.
so you don't have to watch me do the whole thing. Okay, so you received black wax in your kit. So you can take your clean cloth and you can use index finger, first 2 fingers, just dip it in. And then you're going to rub it in. And this is what's really going to bring out the crackle effect. So I'm actually just going to use my index finger because I just find it easier. You don't need a lot of wax, especially on these ones because we don't have a lot of crackle effect in here. But it's on the top that we want to accentuate that crackle look. And again, it doesn't have to be totally even because we all know when things age that's never a thing that's
Never ages evenly.
no, kind of like us. Some parts go before others. So I'm just gonna I don't think you want a lot of wax on your rag when you're applying it. So that you would just keep going around your whole window like that. Like I said, these inserts don't really need a lot of wax. It's mostly the top. And you can see the difference, say, from here to here, how the crackle or the wax brings out that crackle effect very nicely.
It just
in
kind
here.
of goes in the dark wax. Actually, kind of just goes into the cracks
Yeah,
and highlights it.
yeah.
Here.
So that's it. And we added a wreath, but you know, you can even just hang on the wall like this, or just lean it up against the wall on a piece of furniture. And we hope you enjoyed the workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.